Hello and welcome today. My name is Todd Lebo, and I'm happy to be here to oversee this webinar called Account-Based Marketing for Information Security Industry. And joined today with Milap Shah, and we are going to go over the practitioner's insight into making ABM successful. Just to give you a little bit of background, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Ascend2. We are a research-based marketing company. We do monthly research on topics such as content marketing, account-based marketing, marketing technology, and we share that research with thousands of marketers each and every month. And we do that to help marketers not only understand what is working, but also how to apply what is working to their marketing program. With that, I'll introduce you to Milap Shah.
Hello, this is Milap, and it's a pleasure to be on this webinar with Todd, who I think, Todd, you and I go back a long way, I think 10 or 11 years since we began working together. You were at Marketing Sherpa. So I've had this passion for helping marketing and sales leaders succeed, with growth hacking being an area of particular interest. And I've been very fortunate in working with a great team here at Right Leads to put together some cutting-edge artificial intelligence and big data platforms with good old-fashioned proven marketing frameworks to create a platform that we called Right Leads for Information Security. I hope today to go over some of the war stories from the battlefront around what's working and how companies are actually leveraging account-based marketing to make their growth aspirations come true.
That's great. As I mentioned before, we want to make sure that this is a very practical webinar, give you some very concrete things to do as you move forward. The one positive that I can say from doing multiple studies in account-based marketing is that account-based marketing does work. And we're seeing that over the last couple of years as we ask marketers, are they being successful with their ABM strategy? And as you can see here, 40% are saying very successful and 55% are saying somewhat successful. So what I see here really is the fact that marketers are realizing that account-based marketing can help them with generating sales, generating more revenue per sale, shortening that complex sales cycle, reducing the amount of time that it takes. There's so many benefits of account-based marketing, and marketers are realizing if they are the right fit for account-based marketing, that it is a strategy that they need to start using. And Milap, I think you have also done your own research as well, and would you please share that with us?
Sure thing, Todd. And our research sort of corroborates that. You pointed out that ABM has been successful for a large number of marketers. For a more narrower research project that we undertook within the information security market, we found that a lion's share, nearly 60%, had adopted account-based marketing as a strategy. And ours was a pretty extensive survey, 748 respondents across more than 450 information security vendors.
That's great, especially when you can look at it from a specific industry. A lot of times marketers ask us, well, how does account-based marketing work in the real world? Am I actually seeing account-based marketing and not knowing it? And the answer to that probably is yes. You can see account-based marketing in personalized emails and content and website experience that you see every day. A lot of times retargeting, direct mail. Anytime you're seeing marketing that is identifying a specific target market with their programs, that is probably account-based marketing related. We had an example here of Citrix and an experience that you receive on that website. One is the top experiences for healthcare, and so they've identified through data who are healthcare type of prospects, and they're getting one experience. And the bottom one is for education. And so that's all account-based marketing related. The second example that I have today is based on email and content. So you can see here that there's a very personalized experience on the email that somebody's receiving. And again, that's because they are receiving that email based on a targeted group. That email has personalized content because they've been identified through account-based marketing to receive this campaign. So that's just two examples of what you might see from account-based marketing. And Milap, I think you have an example as well that kind of gets into the real nitty-gritty details.
Well, I do. And I like this example because it's actually a company that we've worked with in the information security space. This is a San Francisco Bay Area based malware isolation platform, and they're really focused on advanced endpoint protection solutions for some fairly sophisticated information security professionals. And Todd, I really like this example because this company had some really smart marketers, and they got the basics of account-based marketing just right. And in under a quarter, about 14 weeks or so, they were able to deep dive and mine into very specific target accounts. Effectively, they had 10x better coverage as compared to their competitors. They were able to micro segment and personalize their messaging, and they were able to double down on decision makers that were most likely to engage with them within the endpoint protection market, and literally eliminate even adjacent sectors like data loss prevention or identity and access management platforms. And so by picking their battles smartly, they were able to really tee up some great results. As you can see, 500 plus marketing qualified leads, and actually to be able to hand over more than 150 sales qualified leads to their sales team in under 14 weeks it was a pretty stellar result for them. And they actually were able to start off with 7 proof of concepts coming out of that effort as well. So, just goes back full circle to say, when done right by smart marketers, ABM really is able to deliver a stellar outcome.
Yeah, and I would imagine sales was very pleased when they got 153 SQLs for a high-priced product, complex sale. That's pretty amazing. That's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. And now we're going to move on to our next section. The next section that we're going to cover are the challenges of account-based marketing. At Ascend2, we always like to look at the challenges to help marketers prepare for what's ahead and to start putting together a strategy on how to handle those challenges. Milap, as I looked at this chart, there's 3 sections that really jumped out at me because they are common issues that marketers have, and they deal with data, and they kind of all intertwine. The first one is number 2, the obtaining, enriching account data. The third one, which is creating content by account segment. And then further down, we have the scoring and targeting ideal accounts. And these are all very similar type of challenges that we see across multiple tactics. So we really see the importance of marketers like really stepping up to the plate, starting to put the foundation in place for these challenges because they're going to be there. And as we look at number 2, the obtaining, enriching account data, that's really an issue that's been with marketers since the beginning of marketing, I believe. My first job was in direct response marketing, and boy, we had data issues way back then when it was just direct mail, and now when we're in the digital age, it is even more an issue. So that's one that I feel like marketers really have to take the time to figure out how they're going to handle those issues and start getting that information like, job title, company size, geographical location. They're all important, but I think there's a lot even more deeper segmentation that marketers need to look at. And Milap, I know you live and breathe this all the time, so I'd love to see your perspective on maybe, I know you even have an example of how marketers can start using data to their advantage.
Well, rich account data we feel is absolutely foundational to account-based marketing. And when you think about the fact that marketers these days obtain leads from so many different sources, there's inbound, there's capture forms coming in from various campaigns that people are running. You might have social media information, you might have hand raisers that might have downloaded a piece of collateral, you might have attendees at various events. Regardless, the sheer volume of data that's coming in is pretty significant. And you've got to make sure that from an account information perspective, you're able to get not just all the right attributes, but also make sure that you have them accurately. Some of our marketing partners report that while it's relatively easy, for instance, to append employee size or revenue information to leads that might emanate from larger enterprise accounts, we have so many cases where that information is not so easily forthcoming or accurate when it comes to, let's say, accounts in the 100 to 1,000 employees category. So account-based marketing does require that you get the basics right, and we feel that you got to be able to collate the right kind of information around the accounts that those leads that are being dealt with pertain to.
When we start looking at the marketing tactics, when you have incorrect data, then it takes you down a wrong path many times. There's the danger of not having enough data, and then there's the danger of having incorrect data, which makes you make bad decisions on how to talk and engage with somebody.
Yes, and then there's a good old one-two punch, right? Because once you do get the account information right, you still have to do the hard work around gleaning the right kind of contact information. Because again, in a complex B2B sales cycle, you're going to deal with so many different influencers and decision makers and an economic sponsor or two, and you got to be able to make sure that you have the field of vision in place. And so that's another area that one has to be particularly careful about. And it's not just from a completeness perspective, but also because very often you will have information that might be better targeted to specific personas within. And at Right Leads, that's another realization that dawned upon us is that when it comes to the kind of deep dive that is required to almost get to 90-95% of the personas within an account, it was not possible to do that as a broad brush across all the accounts in the universe. So we chose to double down within the cybersecurity space, and pretty much many cases we're able to get 6x, some cases 7x, 10x as many contacts for the target account personas, and that just makes it a little bit more easy for marketers then to go after them.
That makes a lot of sense. And I know, for example, here at Ascend2 and how we sell into various companies, it could be 2 or 3 different people who need to make a decision. And if we don't have all of that working together, at the very least, it greatly extends the sales process. If not, makes it where we don't get to sale.
Absolutely. Todd, what are the other areas that you think practitioners come up with by way of challenges?
Well, definitely the third one, creating content by account segment, is another biggie, because delivering the right content to people is really the next step that marketers are taking. And we've seen this term called hyper-personalization now for quite a while, where people are personalizing things in a much more extensive way. And I think that's also now taking a place what I call hyper-segmentation as well. And that's really important for account-based marketing, and really kind of makes that account-based marketing now viable. So that's what I'm seeing in the lab. I don't know if you're seeing something similar, but I'm definitely seeing that hyper-segmentation.
We are, Todd. Hypersegmentation is the norm now, especially as you look at market solutions and products that are more mature. It used to be that one size fits all. It used to be that if you were selling IT products, you could pretty much count on your fingers the number of personas that you needed to go after. But take something more sophisticated, look at cybersecurity products, and it's not enough to just go with the chief information security officer, for instance. You now might have literally 80 plus different roles, and when you're talking about hypersegmentation over there, you really have to take the effort to dig deep. In our case, we had to come up with what we call specialties, which are really, if you will, aggregations of specializations that practitioners of cybersecurity tend to have. So we came up with very specific specialties, like people looking after data privacy or security operations or application security or privacy protection or assessments. And by doing that and by assigning those attributes to individual personas in our data set, we then make it possible for that second part that you were talking about, Todd, to happen, which is the hyper personalization of content, because you know very well that the kind of content from your asset library that you're going to use is now going to be purposed specifically toward a type of a persona. And by matching the two together, hopefully you're able to make your messaging much more relevant and have better engagement and higher conversions.
Yes, and from a marketing perspective, when you start breaking that out into, for example, here the security research manager, when you have that much more focused segmentation, your marketing starts sounding much more personal as well, because you can really narrow down into understanding that person and sending things out and speaking to them like an individual as compared to like the masses. And I think that's, again, that power of account-based marketing really starts coming into focus. And as we said at the beginning of the webinar, it's working, and these are the reasons it's working. The last one that really jumped out at me was the scoring and targeting ideal accounts. The scoring is this really, it's been around for a while, but it's getting much more sophisticated, but just a way of attributing a number value to the engagements and interaction you're having with an individual, either based on information about them combined with their engagement with you and what they're doing with you. The higher the score, the more relevant they become. And then you have this general idea of when you can hand that marketing qualified lead over to sales qualified lead. And so I think like the scoring's definitely one that, again, you need to focus on. And in Milap, you guys have done some things in that area as well.
Yes, we thought that scoring was an interesting puzzle to look at because it's a very fast changing market dynamic out there. And so as marketers look at a specific product offering, they're going to have to make sure that they're focusing their efforts on those accounts and those personas within those accounts that are most likely to convert. And what makes it difficult for marketers also, Todd, I think, is that what used to work yesterday doesn't necessarily work today. So you got to be on your toes, right?
Yes.
And that's where artificial intelligence really comes into its own. We developed using machine learning and AI-based predictive score, if you will, which we call the heat index. And really what it does is it assigns a predictive score to the relative attractiveness of a suspect, and therefore provides marketers within the cybersecurity space a blueprint around which they could go about prioritizing and scoring their targets. So, of course, how that might work in practicality might be that you apply your regular firmographic filters and self-select perhaps the specific sector that you're interested in. And, having done that, you then start customizing by putting in, specific job levels or employee counts or locations that are of interest to you. That's going to get you to a place where you have a relatively large field of play. In this case, for instance, you might have 25,000 potential personas across 13,000 accounts. But by being able to now see them, if you will, in 5 different buckets from a relative attractiveness perspective, a marketing vice president might take a call around wanting to really focus their energies on the top 2 brackets and sort of see if those are converting before deciding whether they want to go deeper down that list. So again, there's different ways in which AI is working these days in the marketplace, but we find that scoring is certainly a great application of AI.
Yeah, and I love the heat index concept. It allows you to really get down into that list and understand it and know where to focus your time and effort. So, I mean, I've always been fascinated with these type of uses of heat indexes. I think they're wonderful.
Well, and you have to pick your battles these days with the limited resources that you have. And so, as you said, by being able to really look at the reds and make sure you got those secured first, you're really able to make your limited resources go a longer way. And we're seeing pretty good conversions with that kind of an approach.
And from a a CMO perspective, I would say like one of the ways I would use this would be to make my case to management and say, here's the segmentation we're going after, here's why, and kind of show them this data, because I know the next step from a marketing perspective is to build out programs to attract that audience. And so I can use that heat index, I think, to really kind of justify my case on what I want to do and the resources I need to make that happen. So to me, this is a really good way to kind of secure that budget as well.
So, Todd, I think you really shared some great research and some great insights into how marketers are looking at ABM. And I really think that a lot of the members of our audience are going to be particularly interested in how ABM is working and how its various facets are being worked on. So, thank you very much for sharing those insights. There's going to be a lot more interest in this topic in the months and years ahead.
I agree, and it's been a pleasure to be on. And if anybody on this call would like to look at more of our research, you can go to Ascend2.com, and there are many research reports that you can download and use that data to help formulate your strategy. We definitely have some more on data-driven marketing, lead generation, lead quality, many of the things we talked about today. There's research to back up, I believe, the strategies you want to implement. And Milap, thank you for kind of sharing with us a little bit about how data and AI are coming together in a very, very specific use case for the information security industry.
Sure thing, Todd. And just a quick plug for Right Lead here. Any of the marketers that are interested in seeing, real world ways in which to rev up pipeline acceleration, really start converting better and start using AI today, I think, we have a pretty good platform, and I'd be very happy to share some more stories as well as see how we might bring some of that to bear to help marketers achieve great growth and great pipeline acceleration for their ABM programs.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to be with us. And please keep the conversation going. Reach out to us. We're here to help. Have a great day.